Today, in the nerdy news you need to know about, big news about the future of Halo, Alien Isolation 2 is in development, and Metaphor Refantazio has entered the Game of the Year conversation. We'll have all this and more because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Monday, October 7th, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside Kinda Funny up-and-comer Madeline Stanley.
Woo! Hello, Greg.
Hello, Madeline.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, how are you? How are you feeling? It's a big day. I've had 2 Ghostbusters donuts, so there's a lot of sugar in me.
I feel like I am also feeling the sugar high, but mostly just the high from being here, and seeing it for so long and being here in person is crazy.
So, of course, many people don't know because there was a pandemic and a whole bunch of different stuff, but we used to have a program called Up-and-Comers where we invite folks in the community to nominate people in the community that they saw doing great work to come be a part of the show with us for an entire week where people could come in, hang out, and do all this different stuff. The first round of Up-and-Comers, of course, we had Chloe come through, Echo Chloe. Everyone knows her. She's done great things over on Twitch. Then this guy named Blessing who never went anywhere with his career. However, we are excited that you are the next wave of Up-and-Comers. We have picked a second one. However, we are negotiating with that person about when it makes sense in 2025 to bring them out. But here you are for 1 week to make content with us, Madeline.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
So, for people who don't know you, Madeline Stanley,
yes,
what do you do on the internet, and how did you gain this up-and-comer distinction? Why did so many people say we had to grab you?
I don't know. I am very flattered that people nominated me. I also nominated myself because you got to be
the number one
shooter.
You got to be the number one cheerleader out there for yourself.
What do I do on the internet? I do a lot of things. So I do stream on Twitch at Mad Exposure, but I'm also a photographer. So I do fashion and weddings and all sorts of stuff. And I just do a little bit of everything. I love horror stuff, so I'm always talking horror over on Twitter as well. And yeah, a little bit of all things.
So it is the best season. It's Halloween season. It's spooky season. As a horror aficionado, how are you celebrating right now? What are you doing to get ready for Halloween? How has your life changed for the month of October?
Well, it's definitely spooky watching season. Yeah. So I just watched VHS Beyond with Alana Pierce.
How is it? I want to do it.
It was good. It was really good, especially if you like alien stuff.
I do.
I know you do. So that was really good.
Yeah.
We're watching some movies for In Review soon.
Yeah.
So
of course, you're doing The Shining, Dr. Sleep. We're very excited to have you on
very
those.
Excited for that. Playing some spooky games.
What are you playing?
Am I allowed to say?
Yeah.
I'm playing Silent Hill 2.
Hell yeah, you are.
I'm enjoying it a lot.
Okay, good.
It's very stressful. Yeah. I played the other night after I was packing to come here.
Yeah.
My husband's asleep, so I had to put the headphones on.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake.
Yeah, that'll get you. That'll sneak up on you every time. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we want to do more Silent Hill stuff while you're here, be able to talk a little bit about it. But if, again, you're a horror aficionado, we want your impressions as the week goes on, if you have time. I know there's a lot of things going on.
I would love to get
We've got you on this. We've got you on In Review. You're streaming. You're all over the place. You're on the Kinda Funny podcast this week. We're happy to have you.
Just work me. I wanna do everything.
Well, we will, Madeline Stanley. Thank you so much. And thank you for being such a great, Kinda Funny best friend. You're a name, Mad Exposure. We've seen so much in the chat throughout the years, right? So
yeah, I love being here. Someone asked this on Twitter, like, to explain my experience with the Kinda Funny community. So I feel like at some point we'll talk about that. But
tease.
It is the best. I don't know. It's just been the best being part of this community. Everyone is so nice and friendly, and I don't find that to be true of a lot of communities on the internet. And it's one of those things, I feel like it's such an X factor of Kinda Funny, like, how did this get created? But it's such a beautiful thing. Yeah. And I appreciate all the people out there. And everyone's been so nice and celebratory of me coming here. It, like, literally, I'm just crying all the time.
Well, don't cry on this show. We have a lot of video game news to cover because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday on a variety of platforms, we run you through the nerdy video game news you need to know about. If you like that, of course, be part of the show as we go with your YouTube Super Chats. You can comment on the biggest stories, the review roundups, whatever we're talking about, and get most of your comments read in a timely fashion. Of course, if you like what we do, we need you to pick up the Kinda Funny membership. We're an 11-person small business all about live talk shows. You can get your membership on youtube.com/kindafunnygames or patreon.com/kindafunny, where, of course, you keep the lights and mics on, and in return, you'd get all of our shows ad-free, the ability to watch us record the afternoon podcast, like In Review, like the Kinda Funny podcast, live as we record them. And of course, you get a daily dose of me in a series we call Gregway. Today's Gregway, I'm finally doing it, Madeline. It's an Oreoration for the Coke flavored Oreos.
Ooh.
We did the Oreo flavored Coke, but then my dad went out and saw the Coke flavored Oreos while he's in town and got those. So we're all set back.
They were weird.
They were weird?
Yeah.
Now,
but
are they the kind of weird I'm going to like, or are they kind of the weird that's going to...
It was a weird that I didn't like, but I couldn't stop eating them.
I like that. I like that.
It's weird.
Yeah? Yeah. Okay. If you're wondering how the Ghostbuster donuts are ranking from Krispy Kreme, right now I've only had 2. We are putting the Oreo, no surprise, Crumble Ghostbusters logo cookie at number 1, the Slimer Jelly Donut at number 2. However, I expect the Slimer Jelly Donut to continue to slide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It looks cool.
Colorful, good green slime inside of it. But beyond that, I'm not feeling it. Beyond. Of course, if you want to get our shows later, youtube.com/kindafunnygames, podcast services around the globe. No matter where you're watching, maybe live on YouTube or Twitch, thank you for your support. Please consider like, subscribe, share, and of course, get the membership. Some housekeeping for you today after Kinda Funny Games Daily. You're getting it. It's the Kinda Funny GAMESCAST Metaphor Refantazio review. We're bringing in the one, the only Michael Hyam and pairing him up with Barrett Courtney. Barrett, how many hours of this game have you played?
I'll talk about it on the review.
What a tease.
I didn't say give me your score. He's played a lot, I know. And then the stream is going to be until dawn. Like I said, if you're a member, you'll get the Gregway in the afternoon. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Delaney Twining and Carl Jacobs. Today, we're brought to you by New World of Tournament, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin the show with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. Time for some news. 6 items on the Roper Report.
Maker's dozen.
That was a good one.
That was a really good one.
I like that one. Who was that?
That was Boone.
Boone.
Nice job, Boone.
Huh, nice job, Boone. We appreciate that. Number 1 on the Roper. Barrett, something went wrong. All the screens just went green.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome to a very special emergency XCast takeover for your Kinda Funny Games Daily on this lovely Monday. It's Mike and Paris, and we got big Xbox and Halo news to share with all of you. Paris, what's good, my guy?
Oh, I'm good, man. I almost feel like we just got called up from TNA. We're on the main roster.
Ring,
Let's do
ring.
this.
You're up is right. We said, yo, we're going to make a show. We're going to make an impression and have some fun. Paris, it's great to see your smiling face. Of course, it is great to see the live chat on YouTube and Twitch. Get very excited to see some XCast Green take over the studio once again. And I'll tell you what, Paris, I'm pretty excited because we got some big news to talk about. Are you ready to do it?
Yeah. I'm ready. Let's do it,
Let's
man.
jump into it because yesterday, during the Halo World Championship live stream on Sunday, October 6th, we had the big 3 from 343 Industries jump on the desk. We had studio head Pierre Hintz, art director Chris Matthews, and community director Brian Sketch Gerard jump on the broadcast to share some big news regarding the Halo franchise and the studio formerly known as 343 on creating Halo. The news you need to know about, of course, they shared a big video titled New Dawn. The New Dawn video went over the following: a studio rebrand to Halo Studios, an announcement of Halo moving to Unreal Engine 5, formerly the Slipspace engine, and multiple projects in development where they showcased Project Foundry. Now, don't get too excited. Project Foundry is not a game. It is a research tool for the team internally to use. And they also shared that they're expanding their studio and they're looking for talented developers to come join them at their brand new name, Halo Studios. Paris, that's the quick hits. That's the information. Let's jump into it. Halo Studios, a new engine, an Unreal Engine 5, moving away from Slipspace. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good about it. I think this is the restart that Halo needs. Kind of a fresh new coat of paint. The studio rebranding, obviously going to Halo Studios, getting away from 343 Industries name. Unreal Engine 5 is going to allow them to be a lot more flexible. And they even talked about it in the video that they were trying to be a game development studio and a tech studio at the same time. So now that they don't have to worry about trying to develop and basically maintain a customized engine versus going to get Unreal 5 is going to really allow them to have the time and resources to focus on the actual game development, right? Not to mention, this opens up the talent pool around the industry with it being on Unreal 5. You don't have to spend so much time hiring people and trying to train them to use slip space. So I think just overall, this is good for Halo. And, you know, we're doing XCast right now. So if you're a veteran of XCast, you know, we've been saying this for years that Halo is the flagship of there is no Xbox without Halo, right? You need to always make Halo a priority. You need to make sure that the Halo games aren't just okay. They got to be great. They do. So the fact that they're going to rebrand the studio. They're going to move to Unreal Engine 5, which is going to allow them to get more talented people in there to create the next Halo. I think it's a win-win. Not to mention Pierre at the leadership table at Halo Studios. Let's not forget, he's the one that when the Master Chief Collection came out and had problems, he's the one that salvaged that project and got it to the state it is currently today. So I think under his leadership and the leadership table that they're building over there at Halo Studios, this seems like a good thing. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Paris, I love hearing your excitement. And of course, I will encourage everyone watching live on YouTube and on Twitch to get involved. Share your thoughts, opinions, questions over in the YouTube Super Chats. And of course, live on Twitch. We'll jump into those as we talk. But yes, Paris, you share the excitement. And I do want to start off with the new engine move, right? I think that's where you really highlighted it, of the move from Slip Space, which they were creating on the fly while they were working on Halo and creating not only the engine, but also the video game within, now moving to Unreal Engine 5, which we are seeing a lot of developers use around the globe. We know that Epic and their team have created something really special with that engine. And now it seems like this is the move that you think is the right future for Halo.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, you and I actually talked about this yesterday, but I'll bring it here to KFGD. I think the move is, let's get this to Unreal 5. We know November 15th, 2026 is going to be a pretty special day in the history of Xbox. It's going to be the 25th anniversary. So what better way to celebrate that than with a remake of Halo Combat Evolved in Unreal 5? That allows them to have the proof of concept of getting all your Halo assets into that Unreal 5 engine, do it with a game that we're all familiar with, we all love, we've all been celebrating for 20 plus years, and now use that as a stepping stone to the kickoff to the next chapter of Halo.
Yeah, right there with you, Paris. I think that's the big next step for this Halo Studios team, was to get on to Unreal Engine 5. We had heard the rumors before from Jazz Corden and so many others of, hey, there might be a move here, and it is awesome to have that shared publicly. Now know that the team is looking to bring on new talented members, not have an awkward onboarding process of trying to bring people on, teaching them their old and different way of doing things with Slip Space and having them jump into the process. Now you can create things faster. You can allow Epic to work on the tech in the back end while you create, and that's what it's all about. But I'm excited, Paris, because during the, of course, broadcast on the new YouTube video you can watch, New Dawn, we saw Unreal Engine 5 being used and created in, and I think that was the big one, is Project Foundry, right? We heard multiple projects in development. We are going to talk about that, but Project Foundry is something different. Project Foundry is not a game. It's an internal research project for the team to prepare themselves for creating future games, and we got to see that with, of course, the art director, Chris Matthews, and the team. They highlighted something old, something new, and something alien. And we got to go to 3 different worlds, which were very cool. Of course, we saw the traditional Halo Pacific Northwest, which was highlighting lots of trees and foliage, getting to see the waterfalls, those worlds that we're really used to. We went to the Cold Lands for something new, a snowy area showcasing layers, shaders, and transformable terrain. Then we went to something alien that I know a lot of people got excited for, the Blightlands, a very alien world, something that has been taken over by the flood. And of course, we also got to see assets like weapons, equipment, vehicles. We even saw Chief. We saw an Elite. So we got to see what Halo could look like and will look like in the future with Unreal Engine 5. What were some of your takeaways from seeing this awesome little showcase piece?
I mean, The biomes, that is probably the biggest thing coming off of Infinite. What was one of the biggest complaints, that it was literally just one biome the entire time. So showing this diversity of biomes that they're going to be able to do in Unreal 5, let's get a true Halo ring environment going in whatever the next game is going to be, and showcase some of that stuff of what Unreal 5 is going to be able to do from an engine standpoint. Obviously seeing the Master Chief model, seeing the Elite model, seeing the weapon models as well is exciting, because look, you and I, we're Halo fans. We've always been Halo fans. I enjoyed Halo Infinite, but we all know it could have been a little more than what it was. And it seems like this move is going to be their opportunity to kind of realize that original vision that they wanted with Halo Infinite, when they reboot the franchise going into Unreal 5.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. The 3 biomes looked incredible, Paris. And, I will say, when I think of Halo, I think of beautiful, unique worlds. I think of awesome gameplay, right? And I think when we look at what we saw there, I'm seeing that, right? And that's not to discredit Halo Infinite, because I think it did look good, right? I think what we saw with Halo Infinite was a well-running game, a really good-looking game. It just became, you couldn't keep up with the content. And I think moving to Unreal Engine 5 is the right move to help them keep up with the content that players nowadays want. But we also know that Unreal Engine 5 is doing some incredible stuff, and I do expect us to go even further with the visuals here for the future. But showcasing what we saw here now, right? For all you Halo nerds out there like myself, of course, Foundry, when you hear that word, it's based upon the Halo lore, where the Halo rings were created. So it's very exciting to see what the team has already created and what they're working on to maybe bring people in to help them showcase what they're working on, to say, hey, create inside of Project Foundry, learn what we're doing right now, and then jump aboard and let's make something awesome. But, of course, we as gamers, Paris, we won't get to play that. But we did hear that there are multiple projects in development. Of course, our friend Sketch did say they'll be announced when they're ready, so there's no rush right now. But you hear multiple projects in development. Does that get you excited? What can we expect?
Hell yeah, that gets me excited. And I do want to jump back to one more thing with Unreal 5. I think this is also what was our main complaint about Infinite. They couldn't keep up with the demand for new content.
Yes, Paris.
Right? And I think going to Unreal 5, again, bringing in more people that are familiar with that engine is going to allow them to, they're not going to probably be on the level of Fortnite where they're just churning out something every 2 days, it seems like, but be able to have a regular cadence of content coming out for the multiplayer side of things. I'll be fascinated to see how Forge is going to work in Unreal 5 as well.
Yep.
But I mean, just going back to the whole thing, I want to see what else they can do in the Halo universe. Of course, we're going to get our Master Chief story. I'm sure they're going to continue that, and we'll see where that goes. But there's so many other stories and things that you can do inside the Halo universe that doesn't even necessarily need to be a first-person shooter. They obviously just did the fun little thing with the third-person mode in Halo Infinite. What if they made a completely third-person Halo game that was some kind of side thing, like an ODST thing or something? We obviously heard for years about the rumors of a battle royale. Maybe you actually do that. We talked yesterday about potentially some kind of survival horror game with the Flood. We have not had a proper Flood. The Flood has essentially not returned since Halo 3.
Yes.
I mean, think how long ago that was. So maybe you bring them back in a unique way as well. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what they'll be able to do with other projects. Maybe it isn't always just Halo Studios that are making Halo games. Maybe they partner with some other studios. Obviously, Certain Infinity has been a big partner of theirs over the years. So, again, give me my mainline Halo with Master Chief, but I would love to see some other things as well. And obviously, we know there's fans out there of Halo Wars. Maybe we go back to that genre too. So there's a lot of stuff they could do with Halo. So I'm excited to see what they do.
Don't you get me excited with Halo Wars. You know that, parents. I love that game. Of course, the live chat right now, watching live on YouTube and on Twitch, they're getting excited about what could be the future of Halo. I want to give a big shout out to Bobby Joe, who became a member of Kind of Funny over on YouTube, saying, give me ODST 2, Paris Lily.
Yeah,
of course,
absolutely.
That would be exciting.
We'll love it.
Let's jump in as well. Casper writes in and says, do you think we get a new game or remake by 2026? Of course, Paris, you highlighted the big anniversary right around the corner. Do you think the team will be ready by that time to really put out a game?
If so, the game's already in development. This is something they'd have already been working on, because 2 years is just going to be too quick of a turnaround time. But I think probably the quickest way to get Halo into Unreal 5 would be to do a remake of something like Combat Evolved. And with it being the 25th anniversary, it would just make a lot of sense to try and do something like that. And maybe it's not a one-to-one remake. Maybe you're telling the basic story of Combat Evolved, but maybe they could use it as a pivot point to kind of retell Halo 2, Halo 3, and maybe take the story with the Covenant in a different direction. I mean, who knows? So, like I said, I'm excited to see what it is. They're clearly announcing this now for a reason. I was thinking about that today as well. You didn't necessarily have to say any of this right now, but you did. So the question comes up, why? You're not going to announce a new Halo studio and a new direction for Halo, and then we got to wait 5 years for a new Halo game. So I do think we're going to get something sooner rather than later, and that holiday 2026 just makes the most sense.
Interesting, Paris. Yeah, why now? What does this announcement truly do, right? For the fans of Halo, the gamers out there, does this do anything for me now except for excite me for the future, right? I'm not getting anything right now in my hands. I'm not playing the third-person mode that was teased over the weekend yet. But is this a different announcement to say, hey, game development world out there, talented creators, we have new leadership, we have a new vision, we have a new engine, and we want to invite you into this brand new rebranded studio, Halo Studios, to create Halo, right? And I think that's what this is, right? That new reimagining to say, hey, we're planting our flag, let you know that Microsoft and Xbox have our back. Of course, we are making Halo, and this is the new chapter for Halo. I think that's what this announcement is.
I agree. And I'll just say again, this is my own personal selfish opinion on this. I kind of do want them to go back to the beginning and let's tell a proper Master Chief and Cortana story. Let's bring back Sergeant Johnson. Let's bring back Miranda Keyes, Captain Keyes, you know, obviously the Arbiter, characters that we've been familiar with over the past 20 plus years, and maybe tell it in a different point of view. I would love something like that. So if you were to go back to Combat Evolved, that could be their opportunity, because let's just be honest here. Where the Halo story has gone since 4 has kind of been all over the place. We thought Infinite, they were going to go a direction. They obviously scrapped those ideas. So if you're to try and continue it from where it is right now, it would feel disjointed. So just take things back to basics, in my personal opinion.
Now, you and I haven't heard you, of course, last night. We talked about this live as it happened. But Paris, you and I haven't talked about Reach. You bring up, of course, Halo CE, but you don't bring up Reach. Do you think that Reach could be an option here as a great starting off point?
I don't think so, because I think they learned that lesson with Halo 5. People want Master Chief.
Okay,
it's got to be Chief. I got to have Spartan 117.
Remember Reach.
You can remember Reach, but let's see, this is again, since we're going down that rabbit hole, why not tell it from a point of view, and then maybe you can integrate Reach in at a later point. We see that battle, because Chief was not a part of that battle, if I understand correctly in the lore.
Yeah, he was.
Am I right? He was there, but he got put on the ship and he left, right?
See, no, I thought it was that he was still asleep. It's also been like a while since I've played Reach, but I think the whole thing was that they were sending like the stuff that kicks off Halo 1. So it is essentially kind of like the Rogue One of the Star Wars, or of like the Halo universe and stuff. So I don't think he's technically there.
And just to add along to that, let's also remember, Reach is not a Halo ring. We want to be on it. We want to go to Halo. That was the whole point of Combat Evolved, was their first time going to a Halo ring. And again, we're talking about the different biomes and what they're going to do in Unreal 5. I would rather the next Halo game that we see take place on a Halo ring, and we see the diversity of what a Halo ring could be.
I do like that. I want to see the awesome biomes. I want to see what this team is thinking about moving forward, right? We saw the semi-open world that they were stepping towards in Halo Infinite. Will they keep that? Will they keep all the gadgets and equipment that we got so used to during Infinite? Where do we really jump off? What is the starting point, Paris? These are all fun speculations and hope, but right now we know we're moving forward. Let's jump into the Super Chat, because, of course, the YouTube Super Chats are very excited to talk with you and I. Of course, we have Heroic Headgear writes in and says, Halo moving to UE5 teams, working on various projects, is my biggest hope for Halo moving forward, that they diversify into genres beyond FPS. You brought up, of course, Halo Wars. Do you think they'll go even deeper into the sandbox and try other things that aren't just shooters?
I hope so. And that's kind of what I was alluding to before. Let's do something unique that's in that universe that isn't just picking up a gun in first person mode. So obviously Halo Wars being a strategy game, I mean, you could obviously, go back to that but that's why I keep bringing the survival horror thing with the Flood. Why not? Why not have it be an ODST that's just trying to survive? What limited ammo, limited weapons, and do that whole genre that doesn't have you always just be a Spartan. You know what I mean? So there's a lot they can do. And obviously someone already brought up ODST too. Maybe you do that in third person mode instead of first person mode.
Hey,
so there's a lot you could do.
Yeah, that's the exciting part, Paris, is I don't want to get too deep into the sandbox before we take our first step, right? We got to focus on the basics. We got to make sure we hit this, but we are also 20 years of Halo. We know where we're at. We can jump further in. And I think we've seen that. People playing in these, proverbial sandboxes and having fun, doing something different with these IPs that we know and love. And Halo is already established. Xbox, it's the flagship. This is what you come to Xbox for, and a number of other titles. But I want to play more Halo. I want more Master Chief. I want more Spartan stories. I want to see the Covenant. I want to see the Flood. I want to see more of the universe. So, yeah, I don't think you hold back on this. I think you let the floodgates open and you try any idea that's coming in.
I'll say this too. Yeah. I'll say this one other thing too. I do, and I know we're obviously speculating on Halo potentially going back to the beginning, but let's just for a second pretend that it is. I do find it interesting in 2024, arguably their two biggest franchises, we're seeing them take a step back to the beginning, because obviously Gears is doing that with E-Day as well. So I think this is a grand opportunity for them to take their key franchise, and Fable arguably is doing the same thing next year. So this is a great opportunity for them to kind of hit the reset button on some of their big franchises and steer them in a direction that consumers want. And I think people want Chief. They want Cortana. We've talked about it forever. They want that story. That has always been one of the main draws to the campaign. And now this is their opportunity to kind of hit the reset button and do that again.
I like that. I'm excited for the future of this. Like you brought up with Fable and with Gears, this is all exciting times to maybe give a nice shot to the arm, restart some of these franchises, or give them a nice little head start on this one. But let's jump in. Donut Dude writes in and says, as a longtime Halo fan, this news has given me the most hype for the franchise in a long time. Paris, we talked about the kind of doom and gloom of Halo. We talked about that honeymoon period, the excitement that was Halo Infinite. Of course, we had a rocky launch just to get to day one of Halo Infinite, but the multiplayer being its own free-to-play product with the day one launch on PC. We enjoyed the campaign, but we really got lost after that of keeping up with the content of a live service game, and that love, that passion, that hype that a lot of gamers experienced out there for Halo Infinite really kind of cooled down and people moved on. Or, of course, your diehards still loved it and enjoyed it because it is a great game. But are you feeling that sense of hype and enjoyment and excitement once again because of this announcement?
I am, and I'm selfishly going to ask people to go back into the archives when I interviewed Brian Gerard last December, right before the Game Awards, and he came on talking about Halo, because at that point they were doing the firefight mode, things like that, and he was very candid in that interview about they kind of realized they missed their golden opportunity with Infinite, because a lot of those modes came so late in the game for Infinite that people moved on and played other things. So to hear this, that, hey, we're renaming the studio. We don't want to carry the legacy of 343 Industries because there's a connotation with that name towards not always living up to expectations. That's just the truth, right? So you rename the studio to Halo Studios. You instill new leadership. You move to a new engine. You kind of show off what that engine potentially is going to be able to do for Halo. And I think if you're a Halo fan, you can't help but be excited about it. But the one thing that I've said to you a lot on XCast over the years, my kids don't care about Halo. They don't. They play other stuff. Again, this is their opportunity to try and capture that audience, the people that are indifferent to Halo, by giving a new fresh coat of paint, showing that it has a different direction, and maybe make a compelling story and some compelling multiplayer that people can get excited about.
I agree with that, Paris. I think that's the moment. I think you had it for a little bit with Halo Infinite, but you couldn't capture it. I think now with this new chapter, this new opportunity to kind of put back the name, I think a lot of people would see 343 and they go, or they would have that kind of past of, oh, I already know what to expect. I think putting a new name on this, a new face, especially with the studio team, is a big deal here as well. And I like what you brought up, Paris. For me, when I think of Halo Infinite, right, I think of a product that didn't fully launch, right? This was something that wasn't a full package that I expect out of a AAA Halo, right? It felt more as a early access, jump in, we're going to build it as we go, when we were expecting so much, right? And I think that's what I kind of look for with this new Halo project. Whatever it may be, I do want the most, right? I want that campaign co-op to be ready to rock. I want Forge to be ready to rock. And so I wonder what this first project will be. I think the right move, like you brought up with Halo Combat Evolved Remake, is probably the best move if keep it simple. Try not to go overboard with something gigantic like an Infinite idea, because if you just give me Halo CE and maybe some multiplayer with the old maps, that's a great little starting project where you can build into the next big Halo. Would be a smart move here.
Completely agree.
Let's jump into some more Super Chats, Paris, because the excitement is high right now with our audience. A big shout out right there to everyone watching live on Twitch and on YouTube. We have a nice comment coming in from Skooma Dealer, who writes in and just says, a super chat for the XCast takeover segment. Very slick start for anyone's Monday. Well planned. Well, thank you so much, and we appreciate the XCast love. Gary Witta, we're thinking about you out there. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, we still love you, and shout out to Alana. Foxy Steve writes in with a good one. As a longtime fan, the ball was dropped with Halo Infinite's post-game content. I have a hard time getting excited for this, hoping this makes development smoother, so what keeps people coming back to play isn't half-baked. Paris, there is a feeling as well. As much as I want to get excited, I am the master of hype, right? Let's get real here for a second, Paris. There's been a tough time with Halo Infinite. There's been a tough time with 343 Industries ever since Bungie into this one. This chapter hasn't been the brightest in this Halo book. Are people valid to be caustically optimistic and kind of be like, hey, this isn't the super hype level that I'm ready for yet?
Yeah, I think they are. I think those opinions are valid. I think we're at a point now where actions speak louder than words. So they can say all of these things, but people want to see results at this point. Because again, if we go back in time, they delayed Halo Infinite a year, and even after a year delay, you still didn't launch feature complete. That was a decision that in hindsight obviously was a mistake because they weren't able to deliver on the content that was needed to keep the game sustainable. I mean, the person made the perfect point. It launched fine. No one had an issue with the launch. It was post-launch where the wheels fell off for it because we didn't have the modes that we expected. We didn't have the map variety that we expected. And, you know, it took them damn near 2 years to get to feature complete with Halo Infinite. And by that point, people have moved on. So whatever they decide to do next with Halo, it has to be feature complete at launch, ready to go. No excuses.
Yeah, Paris. I mean, I am all for that. And I think we brought it up earlier, right? This announcement might not be for you, the Halo gamer, right? It is to get you excited about the future, but this is very much a call to action of like, hey, industry vets out there, hey, industry creators and developers, we are doing something new here with Halo. We want to invite you in. We're looking to add on to our teams and really build something. So I don't know if this was like, hey, gamers out there, get ready to purchase or jump into something new. It was very much of like, hey, we're moving into a new era, a new chapter. We want you to be along for the ride. So that was a big one there. So you don't have to be over the top. But just to run it back for all of you, of course, there's a brand new YouTube video up called New Dawn, available over on the YouTube Halo channel, where you can get all the information. You can also go check out the big blog post from the Xbox Wire and Halo Waypoint. But the news for you, of course, the studio, 343 Industries, has rebranded into Halo Studios. There's an announcement that Halo is moving into Unreal Engine 5, and there are multiple projects in development right now in the Halo franchise. This has been your XCast takeover for a fun Xbox and Halo news break. It's Paris, it's Mike. We'll see you very soon after a word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by New World Eternum. New World Eternum is a thrilling action RPG experience for console and PC players with a vibrant world, vast and beautiful setting, dynamic real-time action combat, and the freedom for players to choose how to forge their destiny. Combat is skill-based and dynamic, incorporating swords, guns, and sorcery so that you can build one character to rule them all as you explore Eternum and unravel the mysteries of the supernatural island that you can't leave. You love playing RPGs alone? You can in New World Eternum, or play cooperatively with your friends as you complete quests, get better gear, and level up. Greg played this at Summer Game Fest on PlayStation 5 and was caught off guard by how much he enjoyed it and how many hours he said he could see himself sinking into the final product. There's boss fights, cool enemies, crossplay, resource gathering, and crafting. So yeah, this sounds like a Greg game. Pre-order New World Eternum now on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X or S to get the Azoth Stalker Wolf mount and prepare for launch on October 15th.
You never know what's going to happen on Kinda Funny Games Daily. Hello, Madeline. Welcome back.
Can't believe Snowbike Mike stole my thunder.
Bumped you. You know what I mean? How rude to
So
bump
rude.
an up-and-comer on the first up-and-comer day,
I'm pretty
Mike.
sure this was your idea, Greg.
Barrett, I can't hear you. Your mic's crackling. You should probably not talk the rest of the episode. Number 2 on the Roper Report. Alien Isolation 2 is in development. This is Wesley Inpool at IGN.com. On the 10th anniversary of Alien Isolation's release, developer Creative Assembly has confirmed that a sequel is in development. In a statement marking the survival horror classics, let me try this again. This marking the survival horrors class. No, I still put an S on horrors for some reason. Survival horror classics 10th birthday. Creative director Al Hope said the development team would share more details. Quote, when we're ready. Hope returns to lead development on a sequel, having done so on the first game. In his statement published to X/Twitter. Now, Madeline, when do we just either give in and just call it X, or just keep calling it Twitter and say, shove it, Elon Musk?
I'm never going to call it X.
I agree, but I'm sick of saying X/Twitter in reports.
I'm not doing it.
We're just saying Twitter, okay? That's all we're going to say from now on. Hope said, quote, on the 10th anniversary, it seems only fitting to let you know that we have heard your distress calls loud and clear. Today, I'm delighted to confirm on behalf of the team that a sequel to Alien Isolation is in early development. We look forward to sharing more details with you when we're ready, end quote. 10 years later to say we're working on it, Madeline.
I'm excited, but also like, where are we working on it? How far are we working on it? 'Cause how
100%.
much longer until we get the game?
Years? You imagine years, right? Like, I feel like the fact that if I'm Creative Assembly, right, and that's, of course, owned by Sega, obviously you would have wanted to have done this for a long, long time. So you get down to the brass tacks of what was stopping it. You know, you assume licensing rights are always difficult. Agreements and partnership agreements are always difficult. And so Alien Isolation, while regarded as a survival horror classic now, I remember being polarizing when it launched. It was one of those that, oh, it's got a lot of great ideas, but all of a sudden it's too, well, first off, it's too long. Then all of a sudden you're introduced to having a gun in the second or third half of the game or whatever, or second or third act, I should say, of the game. People hated that. There was criticism to it that at the time gave it whatever it gave. I remember being at IGN. Yeah, okay, there it is. Average John on air says the 5 out of 10 from IGN still haunts me to this day. That's what I remember of spoilers, Greg. Lakers. It's been a decade. And I told you to get a gun eventually? Calm down, everybody. Anyways, it wasn't polarizing. IGN just gave it a remember, I was at IGN, so I'm ride or die with the team on what we said there. I think McCaffrey reviewed it. Am I wrong on that, chat? Let me know. Anyways, I remember it being such a thing of like, oh, and enjoying the initial shtick of it, of hiding and stuff, but I never got too far into it personally, never stuck around that long. And so you imagine with the groundswell since then of, oh, it's a cult classic, you sit around figuring that out, and then I would imagine Sega and Creative Assembly dealing with Alien Isolation, that 20th Century Fox, so now Disney. So probably John Drake. I assume John Drake's tied up in this at some point, whatever. Getting out there and actually making it happen. Altered Rain telling me it's an 81 open critic. Have you ever played this one, Madeline?
I love this game, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. Funny story enough, actually, my husband and I played this on the night that we got engaged.
To celebrate or in lead up to getting engaged?
To celebrate.
Okay.
So he proposed, and then we played this afterwards, and I was like, what a mixture of emotions I'm experiencing today. So this one will always be really close to my heart, but it's a really good, it's scary. I think it's one of the scariest games that I have played.
Yeah.
But I really like a lot of aspects of how little agency you have, how powerful the alien is. Like, it's searching you out. It's very scary. And I do wonder, I'm curious if you saw Alien Romulus, because there was a lot of nods to Alien Isolation and Alien Romulus.
That's the latest one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jen and I want to see it, but we're waiting with the 3-year-old for it to be on demand.
It was really fun as a fan of Alien Isolation to see those nods.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me wonder if we were getting some kind of news. Like, obviously, a lot of Alien fans enjoy this game.
Again, going back to it, and correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, I do believe it's 20th Century Fox, and I do have You're Wrong open, so you could tell me. So then it would be part of this Disney thing, which would be, I made a joke, but it probably would fall into the purview of one John Drake and his team of looking through the IP they now have at their disposal and finding the right things. And of course, people like John Drake, I don't want to give him all the credit because I know he has other people he works with, do understand, of course, that there is a fan base for this that would be stoked about it. So if that's what happened, that if it got hung up just on the shelf with a million other 20th century things, this buyout it happens, yada, 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 you get to hear where they're able to say it. I love that they were able to say this. And again, I joke about the 10 years. We all know how tough video games in business are. It is, I would imagine we are quite a ways out. If you're on the 10th anniversary, just able to say it's being worked on, we have nothing. We have concept art, or now we just have an agreement finally where we can finally start fleshing out ideas. Are you going to be excited no matter when it comes?
I will be excited, but I do think it does temper my excitement, any games, when they're announced so early in development, because as you just said, game development is such a roller coaster, and it's like, it might happen. I want something a little bit more concrete before I get truly excited.
Okay, fair enough. Of course, you know, how many people from the original game are there? Not that it really matters either, right? Because of course, they're the ones who are going to say, okay, we're here because of this. We want to work on this because of it. Some stuff no, you're wrong. It's just, hey, you're right, Greg. Kebab says Greg is correct. Ryan McCaffrey was the reviewer at IGN. He basically said it's a fantastic 7-hour game stretched into a 20-hour game that overstayed its welcome for him. And I remember that being such a turnoff to me.
It is really long.
See, that was my thing where I was like, I don't want to. I played the first few hours and enjoyed what I played, but not enough where I was like, I got to keep going.
I do think, too, for like a very stressful game,
yeah,
that is a lot to ask of people to be that tense for that long.
Yeah. And then Bander SN says, yes, it's the 20th century. It's a 20th century property. And yes, John Drake tweeted about it. I went to John Drake's Twitter. And of course, if you don't know John Drake, he's GM 20th Century Games and VP Biz Dev for Disney/Pixar, Lucas, and 20th Century Games. A lot of titles there, John. John tweeted, quote tweeting the Alien Isolation thing. A little news for your Monday morning. On the 10th anniversary of Alien Isolation, we're in parentheses early and parentheses development on a sequel. Get hype, a creative assembly, cross Sega, cross 20th Century Games. Let's do this. So again, you bring in somebody like John Drake, who knows what the gamers want, and he's going to make things like this happen. Will he ever help make a small Watto game happen? Probably not.
If enough gamers ask for it, maybe.
He'll remind you, of course, he doesn't work on Star Wars games. He'll get really cranky about it because he gets crankier, but he's always cranky. John is just, you know what? He's always cranky. I'm glad people aren't cranky about this. I'm glad people are getting what they want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
This long, it'll be good to see what they got. And again, I love the idea of taking 10 years of feedback and what people loved and maybe didn't love about the original and seeing what you can come down on.
Well, the thing that I'm most curious about, obviously we still have a few years, but the thing that I remember most about Alien Isolation was, one, the design of it was gorgeous, like the retro 80s aesthetic, modern that Alien is known for, but also the AI of the alien itself was like incredibly smart.
Yeah.
And if you hid in the same like locker too many times, it would go straight there and find you.
Nice.
So you had to adapt your gameplay to kind of combat that, and having such a smart AI was very scary. And I'm curious, like, are they going to develop more on that? Like, how much smarter is it 10 years later?
Yeah.
What different things can the alien do to really get inside your head?
Looking forward to it. Number 3, you, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs won't have to look forward to the reviews of Metaphor Refantazio because we have them in a roundup. Right now on Metacritic, a 94, on OpenCritic, a 91. Yes, we are reviewing it immediately following this on GAMESCAST with the one, the only Michael Heim. And of course, Boss Baby, CEO Jr., Atlas superfan, Barrett Courtney.
That's me.
Anyways, we start with Michael Heim's review over at IGN where he gives it a 9 out of 10. There's a certain familiarity in Metaphor Refantazio, but Atlas takes the principles of its already excellent RPGs and refines them in a way that effortlessly ushers you through its brutal and sometimes beautiful new fantasy world. The archetype system and all the new wrinkles it added to the turn-based battles build upon a strong foundation, and the social elements are streamlined to better deliver the most important aspects of the stories they tell. The sense of adventure you get from traveling across the kingdom and the powerful sense of purpose you have to do so drive its memorable journey, distinguishing itself from those that came before it. When I finally closed the book on Metaphor, after 80 hours, I felt a unique warmth in its message because it's driven by the ideals of a just society, smartly contextualized in a unique meta-narrative. Metaphor is poetic and at times idealistic, but it also understands its complexities and that change requires action, and that even far-fetched fantasy stories can serve as inspiration to make our world a better place. Meanwhile, Jessica Cogswell over at GameSpot gave it a 10 out of 10. Somehow, Metaphor is even greater than the sum of its parts, yet each piece of the game is masterfully crafted. I found the whole experience transcendent and was impressed by how it felt both novel yet familiar, elevated and modern, yet so reminiscent of, to the fantasy RPGs I sunk countless hours into on my little gray PlayStation. But most importantly, it made me remember that we are lost without hope. It sounds corny and cliche, I know. Sometimes it can be. It also certainly doesn't put out the fire set all over the world. But it reminded me that giving into despair and fear serves no one, myself included. It reminded me that fantasy and fiction have power. Words and stories have power. They can inspire and comfort. And these things that are so vital, and these things that are vital to preserving. And these are things that are vital to preserving. And it reminded me that the proof of good in the world can be us. And that's a good start. Like I said, our review's coming up right after this. I know Blessing, Barrett, and Michael have even more to say. Madeline, what do you say? Are you a JRPG person? Are you a Persona person?
So I have to give Barrett props because he got me to play Persona 5 Royal. I'm still playing it.
That happens.
I think I'm like 100 hours in. I'm in December, so I haven't actually reached the Royal aspect of it yet, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I really, really, really enjoyed it. I played it alongside. I was listening to the Take Your Time podcast along with it. Really enjoyed it.
Shout out to Jonathan Dornbush and Tom Marks. Hell yeah.
Excellent podcast. But so I'm excited for this, but I have like some daunting feelings of another such a long game.
Yeah.
Because I want to play it, but I'm still not even finished with Persona 5 Royal, so I don't know when I'm going to have time.
Yeah, that's always the big thing, right? Like when I went to a going away party here in the city a couple weeks ago, when Barrett started the game, he came to me and he's like, "It is such a bummer you're not a fantasy person. You'd really dig this." And I was like, "Oh, well," and then I heard a conversation or two between him and Bless. And then at this going away party, I was talking to Chaim and he was going on, and he started really getting into the themes and what they're doing story-wise and why this matters. And I was like, "Oh man," he convinced me to I'm gonna try to love again. Persona 5 is still such a cross to bear, and that's not even what I'm looking for. A Sisyphus moment of me trying to roll this boulder up the hill and feeling like I can never do it because it is so large, right? But the themes of this, I want to try and I want to get in. And of course, today the timeline was taken over with everyone talking about this. And what I found, I would say heartening from my perspective, was the only Alex Van Aken, of course, formerly of Game Informer, now doing his own independent thing. He put up a tweet today talking about basically I am not a fan of these kind of really long JRPGs, but I've been surprised by how into this I am and how much it works for me. That's my thing as well. I'm hoping the Steam Deck, that's the version I requested. I'm hoping that when I finally sit down to do that, that'll be a good gateway to keep me going as well, similar to how Persona 4 is such a big Vita game for me because it was portable. But all that said, to look down the barrel of 80-some hours is always like, oof, I don't know. And I know it's bullshit because, of course, I'm 100 plus whatever in Starfield, 150 in Diablo. But these are games I've played through over a year and change, whereas for something narrative-based, I wonder if I'll fall off and lose it. But I am jonesing for that JRPG. I've talked to Tim a few times on podcasts, maybe I go back to Octopath, maybe I do this. This feels like it would be that, but October is a month where I'm just eating, where it's like I just got done with Starfield. I got Diablo dropping today, and I reviewed it already, but I still need to go play it with Jen tonight. Next week, New World Eternum's here, who, of course, is sponsoring this, but it's all month, but you already know how much I like that from SGF. Take it with a grain of salt. And then, obviously, Dragon Age at the end of it, where it's like, those are the gameplay I really, really jones for rather than turn-based.
Yeah, I agree with you, which is that I think probably with the way my October is looking, I will get into Dragon Age. It'll be my first Dragon Age. And so starting this, I feel like I can't start this before I start another big game, but I do want to play it. It's definitely going to be on my list, maybe in the winter time. That's when I started Persona, was I think in February last year. So maybe I'll finish Persona 5 and then start this.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to eventually tasting it, but when, I don't know. I keep talking about needing I was going to do Zelda on this flight to New York, and I still feel like that might be the best move because Zelda I could actually beat.
You're right.
I could feel like I could get a lot done, whereas wow, I'm 12 hours in. This doesn't matter in Metaphor, but we'll see. I'm very excited to hear the entire review here on the GamesCast right after this. Catch it later on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and podcast services around the globe. For now, we move on to another game. Number 4, Dragon Age Sparking Zero. It's another review roundup.
Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Thank you very much.
I got Age on the mind.
I do. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero review roundup, number 4. Over on Metacritic, it's an 84. On OpenCritic, it's also an 84. You can hear from Connor McCarr at VG247, who gave it 4 out of 5 stars and says, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is a lot of fun, and as meaningful a send-up to the source material as one could hope for. I spent time in training mode, popping supers and comparing them to old anime episodes, and smiled to myself when it matched up perfectly. But in stepping away from what did happen in Dragon Ball to what could have happened, this game manages to make the original narrative all the more sweeter. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is a festival in Goku's honor and a must-buy for age-old lovers of Akira Toriyama's work. Worth pointing out, you will get a review of this on tomorrow's Kind of Funny Gamescast. Of course, Blessing was going to come in and do his review on this episode of Kind of Funny Games Daily, but then the Xbox stuff happened, and so that's a great headline, so we'll use that and move this over there. So if you're one of the people who was very complainy, not in a bad way, but very complaining about the Silent Hill review being a Games Daily last week, you better fucking show up and watch this tomorrow, because it's a day late review now. Are you going to come eat the day-old bread? Are you going to come eat the day-old bread?
It's a little bit moldy.
Are you going to? It's stale. Are you going to eat the stale bread tomorrow? I don't want my reviews on Games Daily. Well, then fucking show up tomorrow, because if you don't, every Games Daily is a review, and every Gamescast is going to be a rant from me. That's what you're going to get. Then the bread will be moldy. What are you going to do then? Because you just say the word. You just say the word. If you want to keep complaining all the time, I'll make every show about Starfield. I'll do it.
No, he will.
Got rid of my last name because I married Andreja. She doesn't have a last name. I figured that was a way to show that I'm in love with her, and we're married now.
Oh, God,
I'm that fucking crazy. I'm fucking crazy. It's Becky. I'm crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Madeline, are you a Dragon Ball person?
No, and I'm happy because I like good games, but I'm also sad because I counterpicked this in my fantasy draft.
No!
I was like, I don't know. It's very likely it could just be whatever, but I'm so glad for the Dragon Ball fans that it's good. I'd rather you guys have a great time and I can take the loss.
You're giving one up for the team. You're letting the fan base be happy.
I also picked Astrobot, so I think I'll be okay.
You're going to be fine. Yeah. This is going to be an interesting one to see the review of tomorrow, because what I loved about this one was Blessing's been hyping this up and talking about this game, and he went to the preview event, yada, yada, yada. He got the code, and then it was like kind of like COVID, where it spread throughout the office. If people would come by and watch and be like, what? And then he'd explain of like, oh, well, you're playing through the thing, but you can play the traditional story and make changes, and then the story, and the one, can I get a code? Can I get a code? Can I get
that?
So it's been spreading out there in the office of people getting into it and enjoying it. So look for that Gamescast tomorrow, and if you don't show up, you'll never see a Gamescast again. Madeline, I'm sick of the big news, like me canceling Gamescast because nobody wants to listen to what I have to say. If we had smaller news, say the tiniest news I needed to know about, where could I go to hear it?
You'd go to our last story, the Wii News channel, where we cover all the small news items you need to know about.
Number 5. The Wii News. Until Dawn, the movie, has wrapped its filming. That's right. This movie you didn't really realize was happening, but you'd heard it was happening, but it's done. They filmed
You didn't realize. I've been talking about it for weeks.
Have you been paying close attention to it, though?
Yes.
Okay. How are you feeling? I want to hear all about it, because, of course, the game just dropped last week.
Right.
It seemed like it was, like, a middling response, right? It wasn't people like, oh, man, you got to play this.
No, it seems like more of the same, kind of, is the vibe I got. But I'm interested in the movie because they put out the cast. They're definitely not, like, it's not just a redo of the game. It's all new characters and everything. But they did bring back some of the they brought back one of the key cast members. So I'm curious to see how he's involved with that. But I'm excited.
Okay.
I think it could go good. I think the only hesitancy I have about it, which is like the magic of Until Dawn, is making it your own story. So setting it to one specific.
It'd be kind of like cool if they did like Clue, where there's multiple endings.
Right.
In the movie.
That's kind of how I feel. So other than that, like, it is a cool story. I think the people who haven't played the game will enjoy the twists and turns of it, but it does lose a little bit of the magic, not being able to make your own decisions.
Fair enough. Of course, if you want to see them make their own decisions in Until Dawn, they're starting a playthrough today on the stream after Gamescast.
So excited.
Can't wait. And then your other part of your Wii news, the smallest news you need to know about, is that Neva will launch on PlayStation 4 and Mac alongside its previously announced platforms.
Never.
That's exciting.
I don't think I know anything about Neva. I'm so sorry.
No, I don't care. No, I mean, it's an indie game. It's whatever from the folks who did Gree. Looks beautiful. It's the one where you're running out the wolf club.
Gree is beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, now that you said that, I remember.
It's
Neva.
one that turns heads every time we see it in the presentation. We did a preview of it. We liked it. We'll see what happens as we get closer to review, however. And that's the end of the Wii News. Let's go into the Super Chats. Mike didn't help me at all by favoriting any of the ones he used. That's great. Joshy G gave a super chat and said, hell yeah, Madeline, let's go. The Trog invasion begins today. You're an active Trog. I'm happy to see you out there.
Love the Trogs.
You have to. Otherwise, they come for you. David Short super chat and said, all the love to Tim and Gia. Very much appreciate everything you do for us, Heart. Yes, of course, yesterday on Instagram, the one, the only, Gia Geddes. Gia Harris is gone. They're married. Announced and showed that she is cancer-free. She had an operation for thyroid cancer. She showed her scars and made a Joker reference, which warmed my heart. But it was her first time talking about it publicly. So, of course, our hearts go out to Gia. We love you so, so much. Now I got to go through all the things Mike didn't do right. God, I hate this kid. You know what I mean? You invite him in.
Just trust that he read all the Halo ones.
No, I'm not going to read them. I watched out there. Him and Paris did a great job hosting.
Yeah, they did.
They just didn't click the heart button like I like. You know what I mean? It's not that hard. Michael's me an apology. It's a reference to In Review, if you know. Sergio says, how about those Tigers, Greg? We're not going to talk about that.
Ooh, that was a rough one.
It wasn't. Because I understand if you're looking at box scores.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I mean, like, surprise on the Missouri Tigers, everybody. The jig's been up for a few weeks. When we were bringing out, like, hey, the teams that are supposed to just be fodder and we're barely beating them and we beat one of them in overtime, we're like, oh, they're going to get their clocks clean when they go up against a real team. And they did this week.
See, I thought we were talking about the Detroit Tigers, which the Cleveland Guardians kicked the fucking shit out of them the other day in the playoffs. Woo!
Donut Dude 246 says that was an impressively fast and fluid changeover between segments. Props to the Kinda Funny production / tech team. Props to you, Barrett.
Insulted by how many people thought that that was all pre-recorded. Insulted.
Yeah, I also got comments about that. It was not pre-recorded.
No, we're just like, I mean, it's not that hard. We got the intro's real long. We did great. But I appreciate it. Thank you for caring. And thank you, Barrett, for pulling it off. As everybody knows, Kevin allegedly had a baby. I've yet to see the baby, and I did see him at Costco, and he was babyless. So I'm just saying.
Why would you bring a baby to Costco?
Costco's a fun time for a baby. Lots to see, lots to do. Samples.
They're not giving that baby samples.
You never know if they're doing formula samples there.
You never know when a baby wants to eat just a tiny piece of a chimichanga.
Exactly. Get him his first chicken bake. You know what I mean?
It was fine when it was just a joke within the office, but now that you're making it a joke on content.
Should we stop? You tell me. I'll take your advice. Should we stop pickles, everybody? We won't do that. That was just a fun joke for one time here.
One time only.
That was it. I let the steam out.
Because Kevin can't be here to like speak up for himself, so I feel like I got to do it. You know?
Okay. Should we move this aggression somewhere else?
Tim.
He took a lot of days off for this Gia surgery.
Oh, no.
No. Okay, no, we're pulling out pickles on that one, too. No. Pickles on that one, too.
Redirecting to Roger.
Wait, what? Oh, man, Roger? Look at this guy with the AI tattoo. What's wrong with him? You know what I mean? Anyways, let's move on. You have a big chat here from Delaney Twining, who super chats $50. Thank you so much. And says, happy Madeline Stanley Week, fellow Trogs. Also, will all the Trogs and KFBFs check their voter status since voter registration for November 5th is quickly coming up on some states? Great call. I saw some people yesterday being like, I thought I was registered and I wasn't. Go check your voter registration. I know I'm okay because the Secretary of State, no big deal, texted me today to say he mailed me my ballot. So we're doing that. Pretty stoked about that. Nigel says, Greg, anything unique happen when married to Andreja during the DLC? I had to go through the Unity and say goodbye to her to get the new quest to pop up. I mean, no, she talks a lot, but it didn't seem like any of it was, like, at least for me, tied to our marriage or our closeness. But she was my companion, so she was very chatty about everything. Jerica pops up and says, missed the XCast takeover, but who cares about Halo when Madeline is in the house? Madeline, you're killing it.
Thanks, Jerica.
And then Joshy G is our final super chat and says, Madeline counterpicked me and is still beating me.
I'm so sorry, Joshy.
You suck at this game, Joshy G. Let's do some You're Wrongs. Of course, if you're watching live, you can go to kindafunny.com/you're wrong. Tell us what we screw up as we screw it up. Okay, I like this. Kebab it says, "None of you're wrong. Fun fact," and he says, "Feel free to skip, but I'll keep it. The retro 80s aesthetic seen in works like Alien Isolation is called cassette punk."
Ooh,
that is
I
a
love
dope
that.
fucking. That's a dope name to call it. Yeah. And then Casper J877 says, "Hey Greg, you said Metaphor is 91 on OpenCritic, but it's 93. Could change of course." So yeah, well, of course
it's been fluctuating all morning.
I was gonna say we are only when Blessing builds this before he goes and plays more Dragon Ball. You know what I mean? It is what it is. We put it on the page, it becomes the thing. But I thank you for keeping us honest because this has been Kind of Funny Games Daily. Remember, each and every weekday on a variety of platforms, we run you through the nerdy video game news you need to know about. If you like that, of course, be part of the show with your super chats on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. If you're watching later, consider picking up that Kind of Funny membership. Of course, for $10, you help this 11-person independent operation keep the lights and mics on and bring out cool folks like Madeline Stanley to be part of the up-and-comers. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/kindoffunny or youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Of course, over there, you could give us the $10. You get all of our shows ad-free, the ability to watch the afternoon podcasts live as we record them, and of course, your daily dose of me, Gregway, where today I will review these Oreos or eat them and just talk about them. I'm not going to do the whole shtick with I don't think I have any milk. You know what I mean. It's like when I did the Oreo Coke. It'll be fine. Calm down, everybody. Madeline, of course, you're here all week for Up-and-Comer Week, but where can people keep up with you?
You can find me at Mad Exposure everywhere. So TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, everything.
Excellent. Of course, you're doing a Gregway this week, maybe two. So
Yes.
if people want to start submitting comments on my Gregways, go for it.
Please
Just
do.
put Madeline out there and we'll get it in there and there. And then, yeah, like I said, you're on the stream today and then throughout the week on all sorts of content. We're very excited.
Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot of me. Hopefully you enjoy that. If you don't, just be quiet.
It'll be over in a week. Of course, right after this is the Kind of Funny GAMESCAST. It's the Metaphor Refantazio review. But until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.